Okay, so listen. I, my position, speaking of position, one position that I own is that of a private tutor to 5 children. And the nature of my vocation in this regard requires my availability 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And um, I owe them, these kids, care that takes precedence over making videos. And so, just the circumstances being as they are, and the priorities being inescapably what they are, plus, uh, if you haven't noticed, and if I haven't mentioned it any number of times, I struggle with uh, some memory difficulty on the short term and some difficulty focusing. And all that adds up to us just having to take what we get. Um, so this is the best I'm going to be able to do. It seems as though uh, the messenger in this case has been custom made to be as unpresentable as possible, and I it is my desire that it would be otherwise, um, but we will recognize God's sovereign hand in this and say, as it pleases you, Lord. So let me see if I can gather my shredded and scattered thoughts. Talking about church leadership, he's the pastor, not you. An authority uh, of a sphere belonging to a particular position. So if a pastor, if there's somebody who's a pastor, he is the authority in that church, depending on the authority structure of the church. Some pastors are the top dog. Sometimes it's the elders or the presbyters or what have you. However, they're doing it. And I mentioned, actually, I don't know if I mentioned. I tried to start this video again, and then there was another incident with another child. Uh, so, hmm, let's see. All right, what is the upshot of all of this? Know your place. Know what your position is. Recognize the positions that God gave other people. Even if there's human agency involved, even if there's immorality involved, even if there's uh, a lack of ability involved, a lack of character involved, recognize position. See it and recognize it. You will know how to operate, know how your position interacts with that position. Do your job. There are so many Christians, and women, you're really good at this, who are so focused on the fact that someone else isn't doing their job that it becomes their focus and it becomes an excuse not to do their own job. Do your job. There's this movie, and I don't recommend it. If I remember correctly, there's a bunch of terrible stuff in it. But it's called Fury, and it's another World War II movie about a tank crew. And they in the tank, there's different seats, there's different positions. It's really a really overt illustration. There's one position that is the leader. He's the commander of the tank. He decides what they do. There's another position. Uh, the guy he loads the gun, or no, the one guy fires the gun, so he's manning the main gun, and there's a machine gun on that turret as well. He's their gunner. Um, so there's various different positions. One of the positions is driver, and then there's another position which is the driver's side gunner. He has a machine gun facing front. Well, their driver's side gunner got killed. And so they got a new one. He was a replacement. Well, he wasn't trained to be a gunner in a tank. I think he was a translation guy or whatever. Some kind of a clerk. He's just like, this is, I don't know. And they basically said, you're a soldier, figure it out. And so they put him in the seat and they got into a battle. And at one point they were coming up on these trenches and the turret was busy. And they're coming up to this trench and there are Nazis in the trench. And they're vulnerable to those Nazis because of where they were and where the tank is. And it's going to pass over the trench and their underside is going to be exposed. And so it's this guy. I think they even had like a missile launcher or rocket launcher or something like that, Panzerschreck, to destroy the tank. And so they're telling him, yeah, the driver's like, get that guy. And he didn't. He froze up. His gun jammed, whatever. And the turret guy ended up getting him. And the driver said after him, like he just yelled at him. He said, "Do your job." In the church, we are all harmed when one member of the body of Christ is not doing his or her job. And sometimes someone else not doing their job requires your attention. It requires you to act differently. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it may make your job more stressful, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're freed up to then not do your job. And I know you probably hear children wailing, but they are being handled. They both, two of them woke up in really, really horrible moods. And so they're having meltdowns right now, and their mother is stewarding their meltdowns. Children just get to that age at some point. Do your job. So focus on what your job is. Unless the circumstances demand that you operate differently, because sometimes that's going to happen, or unless it is your job to oversee somebody else, whether they're doing their job or not, don't make it your focus to think about whether this other person is doing their job. Trust God with them if you don't have any authority over them. Know your place. Do your job. I'm going to bring that back. Know your place. That used to be a saying, and then it was parodied as though it was this arrogant thing. It's not arrogant. Know your place. I have my place. You have your place. What is it? They're not the same. It's crazy to think. I mean, it's a binary. It's a binary question. Is everyone equal in position, or are we not? We're not, guys. We're not. There are definitely people who are higher than other people in position, in authority, in dignity. Trust God by trusting Him to handle someone and whether they're doing their job well. He picked them. Now, maybe He picked them. Just because He picked them doesn't mean that He picked them to do well, number one. And even if He did pick them to do, because I mean, there are implements that are, vessels consigned to destruction. There are Babylonian emperors who are just tools in God's hand. And He raised them up to cast them down. To sound very Calvinistic. And there are also people who He chooses and they don't participate. They participate badly. They fail. They decide to be immoral. But He still picked them. Trust Him. And like I said, we will go over, when we deal with the problem of authority, I will try and remember to go over like specific principles, how to operate, like when to suspend uh, dignity to a position, when to suspend obedience to authority. But the general principle, the very broad principle, is that if someone is employing their authority to mandate other people to sin, then that authority in that case must be ignored. Respectfully. All right. Well, if there was any more that I was going to say, and I don't think there is, it has been driven from my mind. And I apologize for that. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I'm really not pleased with the articulation here, but this is going to have to do. I'm going to have to look at this again. We'll look at this again. I'm sure we'll look at respect again. It's important, but the basic ideas, I feel like they're pretty strong. The definition of respect and its application, it's really solid. So take it, chew on it, attempt to apply it, and specifically, you hear me lay out other principles and truths later, and then you see somebody in your life who is in a position of authority, make sure you honor that position. Don't use the fact that you recognize a truth that they don't recognize, that they're not living according to. Don't use that as an excuse for you to then behave in an undignified, dishonorable manner. Give honor to whom honor is due.